All right, all right. Welcome back, everyone. We have another one of our exciting AMAs where we have to cover a lot, right? I think over the last 3 months, um, we at the IOTA Foundation have been really focused on just building and getting our technical roadmap in order, aligning sort of the priorities and the objectives internally. I think now we are at the stage where we feel very confident in the direction and where we can also communicate them with all of you and really sort of like bring more clarity on where we are headed with IOTA, with Shimmer, and with Assembly. Today we have a very exciting day. Today is the end of the staking period. So for the last 3 months, we opened up IOTA to something completely new, which was staking. And I think we can really take sort of a quick recap and say that it's been fucking amazing. I don't know what you guys think, but like there's nothing more like the experience of just looking at your Firefly wallet and looking the numbers go up of some of some new tokens, which are obviously very exciting, right? Shimmer and Assembly. That experience itself made it worthwhile. And obviously now in this next phase, when the Shimmer network and when the Assembly network are launching, the real excitement starts. But even just being able to make use of your IOTA tokens and sort of, making them be productive has been a really great experience, because so far IOTA has had a very different focus, right? And we were really more focused on enterprise adoption, industrial use cases, working with governments and stuff like that. And now we've opened it up more to the community and inviting all of you to participate in launching these new token ecosystems. So I think overall for me, from my experience being with IOTA since the beginning, this was definitely a sort of shift for one, right? Where we opened up new opportunities, but it was really the right shift. And I think also all of you were really excited about how simple it was to stake with Firefly. And also how simple it was to obviously earn the airdrops / staking rewards. So I think the conclusion is really good. But let's focus on what is ahead. Obviously, it's kind of crazy what's been happening since we did the last AMA. So I was actually in New York when the whole Russia-Ukraine escalation / war started. The main lesson for ourselves is simply to just focus on the things that we can change, because all of these geopolitical fights and standoffs, there's nothing we can do about it. The only thing that we can do is try to make the situation somewhat better, right? Donating money, participating in activities, and helping those in need, because that's most important. Because those in need are those that where so they're the true victims of this war. And so I think we as IOTA, we as a community, we as a crypto community should really try and participate in any way that we can for people in Ukraine, but obviously also people who are really suffering as part of this war. But overall, I think what we can do is we can really focus on ourselves and focus on how we can really help crypto go mainstream, because the whole thesis of crypto is that we take away power from those who are abusing it. And this is the most obvious example of how power is being abused in the most severe way, right? People are dying as a consequence of this. And I'm not saying that crypto will fix this or decentralization will fix this, but I'm saying that it's part of the solution. And we as a community that is really focused on being solution driven and focus on solving problems, I think this is definitely one of the times that makes it much more obvious why decentralization is needed and why decentralized technologies really help us to build a better future. So let's focus on building a better future together, and really focus on those things that we can change. And what we can change is the technical roadmap, engineering roadmap, and the ecosystem that is being built on top of that. As many of you know, the primary objective for the IOTA Foundation at this point in time, wait, let me actually share my screen, because I think that will make it easier to understand. So the primary objective for the IOTA Foundation is to launch what we call Stardust. And Stardust, just to recap it again, for those of you who haven't been here before, Stardust is the culmination of a few upgrades that bring forth significant utility features to IOTA. First of all, we're introducing native assets to the IOTA ledger right on layer 1. So you can create your own coin and get it exchanged for free, right? And get it secured on layer 1 for free. Tokenization is the first one, which also includes NFTs, by the way, right? So non-fungible tokens. The second one is output types, where we're introducing more complex conditions for spending transactions. So you can, for example, say, hey, like this IOTA transaction can only be spent after the 31st of May. So you can create more time locks and other sort of conditions that have to be met before your transaction can be spent. You could define this as sort of like layer 1 smart contracts, but it's not really smart. It's more like conditional contracts, which are obviously really exciting because now with those conditional contracts, we can start doing more complex stuff, including hopefully in the near future, atomic swaps, right? Bridging with other networks, right? So we're introducing that. And in addition to that, we are introducing smart contracts. Many of you have already participated in our EVM testnet, which hasn't been running super reliably simply because it's built on top of Shimmer. And Shimmer, as you know, is IOTA 2.0, so the fully decentralized version. And the code base has been rapidly changing and evolving, so it was difficult to keep it stable. But now with Stardust, the EVM compatible smart contracts are coming to IOTA, and all of the dApps that have been starting to be built in the ecosystem can then also run a lot more reliably. So this culmination of utility upgrades and features is our primary objective right now, right? We had Chrysalis, which removed all of the bad things and introduced many of the good things to the IOTA protocol, so that now we could really focus on bringing utility to IOTA and obviously utility to the IOTA token. So right now we have been developing Stardust. What's going to change with Stardust is the node softwares, right? Hornet and Bee. And what will also change is the entire stack on top, which includes the libraries and which includes the wallet. And we're already running our internal testnets with all of these technologies combined, right? And now in this next phase, we are opening up the testnet to the community, hopefully relatively soon, so that all of you can then also start to try it out, try to experience the token foundries and the native NFTs, and then obviously also smart contracts. So this public testnet is the next major objective on our roadmap. And with this public testnet, you could also see it as a sort of early version of Shimmer. But this public testnet is really there to find the majority of the bugs, to finish the feature complete Stardust specifications, so that we can then at the later stage launch the Shimmer network, right? Because the Shimmer network is our staging network, where we have a dedicated network to test out these exciting new features in a new environment, right? In a new network. And with the Shimmer launch, we can then also start actually launching dApps in a productive way, right? So this is sort of like the big focus that we have over the next few months to build out the Stardust testnet and then to launch the Shimmer mainnet. And overall, it's looking very well in that regard. When it comes to assembly, we've seen so many exciting applications being built, and actually so many exciting applications applying to Touchpoint, which is our dedicated builders program, so that people can get support, can be forwarded to investors, and also get any kind of help that they need in building their dApps. I think we have more than 2 or 3 dozen dApps that are being supported actively right now, or teams, not dApps. And Many of them will actually launch in Shimmer, and some of them will obviously only launch in assembly when it launches on IOTA at a later stage. So overall, I would say that even just providing the testnets has brought forth many exciting applications in the ecosystem. I'm sure many of you have participated in some of the Sooniverse NFT drops. Let me actually open the website. I must say, I haven't participated as much as I should have, simply because there was so much work. But it's really crazy how much all of you have already built over the last few weeks, right? And again, this is running on a testnet, and all of you are kind of going crazy and aping into it. And it's just really fascinating to watch it all unfold, because our main priority at the moment is really to empower the ecosystem and to empower the community, so that all of you can use the technologies that we provided to build exciting applications. And we are not here to judge whether an application is good or whether an application is bad. We're here to provide the frameworks and here to provide the technologies so that you guys can also participate and create the ecosystem. I think in total, Sooniverse has done around 3 TI so far in NFT sales. So that's close to $2.6 million that has been invested through this platform. And that is really just the start, because there are so many other dApps that have been built and that are also starting to go live once we have the testnet around. So overall, I think it's really great how the community is already being productive and already building. So it really makes me hopeful that once we have the testnet out and once we actually launch Shimmer, that we're really launching with an entire ecosystem. A majority of my time right now is really focused on helping to build out this ecosystem, right? Bringing dApps from other ecosystems into our ecosystem, into our community, and really also helping to attract as much liquidity, as much TVL as possible, so that when we launch the Shimmer network, that we're really launching it with a lot of players that are involved. So overall, it's looking very good. Quickly about staking, right? Before we go to the questions. Today, staking, the first staking period ends. And with this first staking period, the Shimmer token supply has been generated. So that means there's no more Shimmer tokens going to be minted, right? No more Shimmer tokens are going to be airdropped. So the genesis of Shimmer has been formed, right? That is the first thing that happened so far. Now, what happens after that, after this initial staking period, we are actually going to continue staking for assembly tokens, because in total, 20% of all the assembly tokens will be distributed to IOTA stakers. And that staking will continue in the next few days, the next few weeks, so that all of you can continue staking for assembly. And that's pretty much it. So then once the Shimmer network has launched, you can stake for Shimmer. And once the assembly network has launched, you can stake for assembly, which is pretty straightforward, right? And I can recommend all of you to just simply read the blog post. But I just wanted to reiterate that again, that staking is actually going to continue. So without further ado, I don't think it will be weeks, by the way. I think it will most likely be a week or two, but no ETAs, right? Let me open this up. Let me change the sort by. Why did you guys always say top, right? All right. Let's do the AMA. Hey Dom, as there won't be an ETA for Shimmer and assembly go live, and I'm interested for how long are the alpha and beta test phase for Shimmer planned for? And will the protocols also be subject to an external audit? If so, how much time is allotted for such a thing? I can see how all the developers are hyped to finally get their ideas live on Shimmer. So they would probably all appreciate an approximate timeline and a few words about it. I think when it comes to the alpha phase, that's sort of already starting right now, where we are right now doing a lot of internal tests with all the components combined. When it comes to the public testnet, I think a lot of it will depend on how many bugs we will eventually find. But I would say a minimum time frame from public testnet to Shimmer will be around 4 weeks. Because with this, we can also give potential integration partners like exchanges, like dApps, the opportunity to start onboarding with Shimmer, right? Because the tooling, the API endpoints, and the EVM chain, so to say, they're all going to stay the same from the public testnet to the Shimmer network, right? So the integrations can already start. So I would say, in short, it will be a minimum of 4 weeks. The upper limit really depends on whether we find any severe bugs in the code and how long it will take to fix and then test those. But overall, once we have the testnet out, already the integrations can start and be tested. Somebody says your screen is blurry. I don't see how that could be the case. I can zoom in even more if you want to. Hi Dom, I'm interested in the financial runway of the foundation. As you mentioned, currently there are close to 200 people working for the IF. Could you please elaborate how this organization is financially sustainable? You mentioned before that a reasonable part comes from grants. However, I find that still quite vague. It is quite a financial demand to feed 200 mouths and their families. And grants have always been an expiration date. So you need to find new ones, which of course is not always easy. So if possible, could you be a bit more specific? Thanks a lot in advance. So I mean, many of you probably know that we never took a pre-mine with IOTA. So us as the founders, us as the foundation, we didn't get any tokens unless we invested into IOTA, right? And the foundation got tokens through the community, also donation. So in total, it was like 5% of the total token supply. Majority of all the operating costs are covered through the treasury that we have, right? By liquidating IOTA tokens so that we can fund our operational expenses. With the launch of Assembly and with the launch of Shimmer, there's additional tokens that were created where the IOTA Foundation has more of a treasury, right? So we also get Shimmer tokens and we also get Assembly tokens. For example, with Assembly, the foundation got 10% of all the Assembly tokens. And right now, the way that the foundation is funded is through the treasury, but also through the through grants, which is only a small part. I would say that's only like 10 to 15% of all of our operational costs. And the other part has been funded through the private sale that we did with Assembly, right? Moving forward, we are obviously very keen on doing more asset management with the tokens that we have, right? We will definitely participate in staking. We'll definitely participate in yield farming with the assets that we have. The best case scenario that we have is that we will be able to generate 10 to 15% yield on the assets that we have. And hopefully with that, we'll be able to cover our operational costs. So while right now it's really primarily around the treasury and like around providing funding through our treasury. And in the near future, we should be able to cover most of or all of our expenses simply by participating in the ecosystem and earning yield on our assets. But overall, there's nothing of concern in terms of the sustainability of the foundation right now. Previously, we did want to really cover most of our expenses by not selling our treasury, by, for example, getting grants, getting corporate commitments and stuff like that. EPS is a big part of it, right? Like where we're getting a couple of million euros over 3 or 4 years, I think. But quite frankly, it's not scalable and it just takes too much focus away from really focusing on the technology and the ecosystem. So we kind of stopped doing grants actually, so that we can actually focus more on crypto, focus more on the ecosystem, and also focus more on those high profile adoption cases that we have, like, for example, Trademark East Africa. So yeah, I hope that provides you some clarity. Obviously, we can't publish our financial statements, but overall, we should be in a very, very good position. And I think as we move forward, we should be even better, especially once the Shimmer network launches and once the Assembly network launches. Hey Dom, what is the reason for the delay of the Stardust upgrade? If there is no delay, what is the rationale behind starting staking in December, letting it run out without starting Shimmer or introducing any new features now and losing all momentum again? Well, first of all, we never gave any timelines when Stardust would launch, right? We always had an internal sort of goal of what we would want, when we would want to launch Shimmer. And we're actually staying true to that goal by launching the testnet, right? The Stardust testnet. And there was always supposed to be a phase between the Stardust testnet and the Shimmer network launch, right? Mainnet launch. And that was always taken into account. So I wouldn't call it a delay. Overall, I think we wanted to distribute the Shimmer tokens as soon as possible so that we can actually use that Shimmer token supply genesis to launch the Shimmer network, right? And we didn't want to be dependent on the Shimmer staking to end. So overall, all the features that you requested, introducing any new features now, all of the main features are being implemented through Stardust, right? Those are the main utility upgrades that are coming. So there was nothing else that we could do on IOTA to upgrade it. And overall, I think it's about preparing for assembly staking, continuing with the assembly staking, and now focusing on launching the Shimmer network as soon as possible. Okay, next question. Are we going to see any fruits bloom over your trip to the US? Specifically, I believe you mentioned heading to New York to meet with liquidity providers. Yes. Like we're actually very close to signing some of those agreements with some important custodians, but also with some important liquidity providers that will actually join the Shimmer network and also enable all of you to have some different staking and yield opportunities so that your IOTAs can be productive. Obviously, I can't talk about these things, right? Like if I meet with some people, I can't talk who I'm meeting with because that's kind of awkward. And I think once the things are live, you can see it. If I correctly understand, the launch of Assembly could take up to 21 months. Is courtside planned before or after? And the launch of Assembly is definitely not 21 months. The network will definitely launch before that. The way that it will work, and maybe we should take a step back to talk about how Assembly is going to launch. All right, we have the layer 1, which will soon run Stardust, because with Stardust we can actually run smart contracts as a layer 2 solution. Now, the way that it's going to work with Shimmer is that we'll have one, obviously the Shimmer mainnet, right, the layer 1, and in addition to that, we will have one dedicated or a few dedicated Shimmer EVMs, like an Ethereum virtual machine, where most of the dApps are going to be deployed to. Now, this will be sort of like the first beta testing of Assembly, because the way that it's going to work on IOTA is the exact same way, right? Once we upgrade the IOTA mainnet with Stardust, after we've done enough testing on Shimmer, we will upgrade the IOTA mainnet, and then we'll actually also launch Assembly on top of IOTA. So that will also be one or multiple EVM chains where most of the dApps and most of the innovations will launch. So that is sort of the first iteration of how Assembly is going to launch. Now, the next iteration will be this multi-chain future for Assembly, where we are currently exploring how the different paths of Assembly could look like, especially taking into account IOTA 2.0 and the fully decentralized version of it. So to fully answer your question, Assembly will launch before courtside, the one main chain, one main EVM chain. But what's very exciting is obviously how Assembly will turn into this multi-chain smart contract network and how that will be combined with IOTA 2.0. So that's sort of like the next phase after that. But we have all of that explained in this roadmap post that we're sharing this week. Hey Dom, only 2 questions. Please don't go around the bush and give us an honest answer. Is Coordicide coming this year on mainnet? Yes or no? I don't think so. I don't think it's coming on mainnet this year, primarily because right now the main priority is on Stardust, right? So that we actually upgrade IOTA with utility features and obviously providing sufficient decentralization. And also, in order to really test IOTA 2.0, we definitely will need at least a couple of months on Shimmer, right? Because that is the whole purpose why we launched Shimmer, is so that we can really sufficiently test IOTA 2.0 or any other technical features that we're upgrading. And the difference between the current IOTA protocol, where we still have the coordinator, to the future protocol where we have IOTA 2.0 is obviously bigger. So I don't think that Coordicide on mainnet is possible this year. However, as I've already mentioned this a few times before, the big focus is on utility, so that we have an entire ecosystem around IOTA. And then at the later stage, we can provide the full decentralization. So Shimmer might be possible this year, right? Where we are upgrading Shimmer to Coordicide. I think that is really one of the main objectives. And I'm very hopeful that we can reach that, but IOTA mainnet, not possible. I hope that's clear. Any plans to offer more transparency? Everything looks like Area 51, even for people who follow IOTA every day. Can't think of how weird it is for others. I honestly don't think it's about transparency, because overall, I would say that we're definitely one of the most open and direct foundations, or projects, right? Like if you look at our Discord, there are so many different channels where you can directly interact with the developers. The most difficult part is extracting value out, or extracting information out of our teams, out of the foundation, so that this information can be packaged and can then be shared publicly. It's not that we're intentionally hiding anything. After Shimmer was released, after Assembly was released, there's nothing big that we're hiding apart from timelines, right? But oftentimes these timelines, we don't even know ourselves, because we kind of don't think that they're good to do, right? So it's more about how do we really package this information, publish it, and I think we're sort of lacking people in the team to do this properly, right? So we're staffing up a lot more, but yeah, overall, I don't know if you have any suggestions of how we should be more transparent and what we can do. Like, give us some ideas. We're always on Discord, so if anybody asks us a question, we're always on answering questions there. But other than that, there's nothing to hide, and it's mostly just about by the time we're working on something and by the time we're publishing it, a few weeks have already passed. So it just takes time for us to prepare the information and publish it. Next question. Hi Dom, do you know when the Shimmer network will be ready to use? The testnet itself, right? The Stardust testnet should be ready relatively soon, and the Shimmer network itself will launch a couple of weeks after the testnet has launched, because we need to give it enough time to do all of the testing. So at minimum, it will be about 4 weeks after the testnet has launched, but it will probably be more than that, right? So keep that in mind. So no ETAs, but it's going to happen very, I don't want to say the word soon. It's going to happen. I'm going to leave it at that. On which network will Assembly be launched later in 2022 as planned? Current mainnet 1.5, Shimmer, or Definite 2.0? Assembly will launch on IOTA. And once we upgrade IOTA with Stardust, Assembly will launch. And with that, we're preparing a lot of stuff with the ecosystem. And by the way, one of the exciting things about having Shimmer is that all of the early stage ecosystem development and all of the dApps that want to launch on IOTA, they're going to launch on Shimmer as well. And now what we actually have there is we allow them to build up their communities, allow them to test out different concepts, and get better at running their dApps, so that when we launch assembly and when we launch I upgrade IOTA with Stardust, we have an entire ecosystem that will actually be able to replicate their success on IOTA and on assembly. I think that is really something important to keep in mind, because that really gives us a big headway to compete and to speed up our ecosystem growth. At what stage will it be possible to clone EVM dApps on Shimmer network? Is basic smart contract functionality enough, or it will only be possible on assembly? You already can start doing that right now. We already have an EVM testnet right now, which runs on the DevNet, right? So it's a little bit unreliable. You can also run your own testnet, but once the Stardust testnet is out, and once we deployed smart contracts on top of there, you can actually start cloning the EVM dApps, and you can start trying it out. So wait until that happens, and then you can start doing it. You currently receive 0.03 ASMB per IOTA per day. If staking goes on for about 24 months in total, the total amount of received ASMB for IOTA holders will be more than the communicated 20% of the initial supply of 100 billion ASMB. Does that mean that the amount of received ASMB per IOTA may drop in the future, or the staking period may end early or pause for some time? That was actually always the intention, that the staking rewards would decrease over time. So with this new staking period, the assembly rewards will be slightly less. And then in the future, once the assembly network has launched, those rewards will probably adjust automatically, depending on how much IOTAs are being staked. But yes, to answer your question, the staking rewards will actually decrease with the next staking period. Hey Dom, is IA's long-term goal still for IOTA to serve the machine economy, or has assembly redirected focus toward other verticals? Will Shimmer be fully decentralized from day one of release, or will it undergo a process of decentralization? And to answer your first question, the focus of IOTA is to build a decentralized infrastructure that provides trust to people all around the world, right? As we were building out IOTA over the last couple of years, I think ourselves and many of you have realized that IOTA is not just about the Internet of Things. We're not just about empowering machines to be connected to the decentralized world, right? To have wallets, to sell the data and stuff like that, right? So IOTA is more than just a machine economy. And I think from what we have been doing over the last few months, it's kind of obvious that we want to broaden our scope, where it's not just about IT, where it's not just about the machine economy, but where it's about all sorts of economies, right? Data economy, identity, which is a big area as well, especially human identities, right? And now also with Web3 and with assembly. So overall, I think our long-term goal is definitely still to serve the machine economy. We as IOTA, we don't want to judge in terms of what use cases are being built. But at this point in time, I would say that our primary objective is to really make sure that IOTA is one of the best networks to build on, right? Where you can actually deploy a dApp productively. And the way that we're doing that is through Stardust, right? As I already mentioned, and with assembly. And then in the next phase, as another point, we want to really focus on empowering the ecosystem, right? That's why we have a builders program. That's why we are trying to provide enough funding and support so that our community can be successful in building their applications and successful in building their startups. I think those are the main objectives right now. And the machine economy is still something that we are very passionate about. And we definitely also want to realize that. And I think as we shift towards the community, like focus on the community, and as we shift towards focusing on utility, realizing the machine economy should also become a lot easier. Because previously we were only limited with doing micropayments, right? Now we have a whole fleet of new features that can be utilized to build out this economy. And will Shimmer be fully decentralized from day one of release? There will definitely be progressive decentralization in the Shimmer network, but we are currently exploring some ideas of how the Shimmer network should launch and how it should be built. So as we get closer to launching Shimmer, you will also hear about how that will look like. And why would a project choose to invest their time on IOTA EVM over the dozen other chains which already support EVM and is available today? One of the biggest advantages that we have is that we have an existing community, right? One of the biggest crypto communities who are really passionate about IOTA, like all of you, and obviously me as well. And as we've seen with the staking, there's a clear interest in making their IOTA tokens, their IOTA holdings productive, right? Participating in yield farming, participating in staking and stuff like that. And just looking at that, right, that was close to $2 billion in TVL, right, total value locked. And with IOTA staking, that just shows you great growth potential. So I've been having a lot of discussions with very well-established dApps from Ethereum, from Phantom, and from Avalanche, who are all really excited about what's happening on IOTA because they realize that the same level of success that they had in their own community, their own ecosystem, they can actually have in IOTA as well. And the biggest opportunities are in the launch of an entire new smart contract ecosystem. And we have that with Shimmer, and we have that with IOTA and with Assembly. And that's why many builders get super excited when I speak with them about deploying their dApps on our networks. And the second thing is that we're going beyond just another EVM chain, because we have layer 1 tokenization, right? We have the feeless layer 1 tokenization. And then we are taking this a step further by really building out this multi-chain future with Assembly. So it's not just that IOTA is a copycat, EVM copycat, but we're really going beyond that. And I hope that many builders will also realize that and want to be part of that. But ultimately, our greatest asset is the community. And I think that will really convince many established dApps and many teams and builders to move over to our ecosystem. Feeless smart contracts, but it's not really feeless. Do you really think it's enough for people to choose IOTA over other chains? Well, we don't really have feeless smart contracts, right? There will always be a fee that needs to be paid on the smart contracts. It will be much less than on other networks. And what we do have is we have the layer 1 that is completely feeless, where these transfers between smart contract chains will potentially be feeless. And we also have this option to actually launch feeless chains, right? You can launch your own smart contract chain where you can then define what the fees for the end users are like, or whether the fees will be subsidized. So that's an important point to clarify. Do you really think it's enough for people to choose IOTA over other chains? I don't think so, right? There's other chains where the fees are very small, and we don't see feeless as a USP for us to win in the smart contract ecosystem. Where we do see a USP for us is to innovate further than others, right? By introducing layer 1 smart contracts, by really providing the right environment for builders with the support, right? So, investors, TVL, and users, because only through that we can compete. And it's a big focus of ours by providing this right environment for dApps to be successful. Do you know anything about exchange listings of Shimmer or Assembly? Will both be stakeable right after the staking period ends, or will we need to wait for the networks to launch? And Shimmer or Assembly, there's already been a few exchanges that have listed IOTA that are very interested in listing Shimmer and Assembly as well. They actually reached out to us, and overall we are coordinating this with them right now. And so let's see what will happen there. Obviously, no promises, and we don't know what will happen there. Will both be stakeable right after the staking period ends? You can only stake your Shimmer or your Assembly tokens when the network launches. So if you want to stake them, you have to wait, but you can stake your IOTA tokens to receive more Assembly tokens. Do we have to do anything once 90 days finishes, or will it automatically carry on staking IOTA, Shimmer, Assembly? Thanks. You will actually have to restake for the new staking period when it starts. Is there any news that you can share about any new developing partnerships with companies that are US-based? US-based, we have a big focus on sustainability, where DMRV, right, digital monitoring, reporting, and verification, around climate change, right? Climate data has been going forward really well. I can actually show you the website. This website. So this is an initiative that we have together with Climate Check, which is based in Canada. So this project has been going forward really well, and we're actually thinking about how to scale this up further. So that's been really exciting. Other than that, I don't think there is much update to give on US-based partnerships. As I already mentioned, our focus is really on Stardust and on empowering the ecosystem, so to say. Has the internal Shimmer testnet been released? Yes. Also, is there an update on the governance vote? The governance vote will happen once Firefly is done with integration. I don't know when that will be, but it should be relatively soon as well. I definitely think it will be before the Shimmer network launches, but other than that, it looks good. Will Assembly have its own CEO? That's an interesting question. I don't think so. I think Assembly will definitely start having more of its own team, but moving forward, right now there's a lot of cross overlap, a lot of synergies to have between Assembly and IOTA, so that's why everything is done by the IOTA Foundation. But maybe there will be an Assembly Foundation in the near future. I will work directly with the IOTA Foundation, but so far everything stays within the IF, and then moving forward we can define this further. Is Billy Sanders still with IF? Yes, of course. If so, what is he doing? He's the director of research, and he's done a really phenomenal job in working with the team, defining the research roadmap, and obviously working on the IOTA 2.0. And he's been really active. I don't know why you're saying that he hasn't been active, because he's been running around and also working on partnerships with the universities like University of Zurich and stuff like that. Maybe we should get Billy on a show. He's always a fun character. Cool. That was pretty much it. I hope that this provided some clarity on what is happening and the direction that we're taking. The next imminent steps are to launch the Stardust testnet. Once that is launched, all of you can start participating in some fun dApps, creating your own tokens, and helping us to validate the Stardust protocol so that we can actually launch Shimmer after that once we've done sufficient testing. So the more active you guys are in the Stardust testnet, the faster we can actually launch Shimmer. So I think that's a big incentive. So we actually also thinking about what we can do to have some fun games to test and validate Stardust. And once Shimmer has launched, we can talk about launching the entire ecosystem. So I hope that all of you will participate in that. And if you have any further questions, feel free to reach out to me. Other than that, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Monday and a wonderful week ahead. And as always, I see you guys on Discord or see you on Twitter shitposting. Thank you. Bye-bye.